meeting. My name is Dick Pomerantz. I'm the chair, and I'm going to go around the table and ask everybody to introduce themselves.
Buddy Bright, East Ocean Township.
Tom Stone, Commissioner at Large.
Neil Carter, Township Manager, West Town.
Derek Davis, East Ocean Township Manager.
Kathy Brill, Business Manager for WeGo.
David Letty, Interim Chief of Police for WeGo.
Go around the table.
Mike. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm Michael Monero. I'm a resident of, Woodlawn State Road.
That's great.
Mike Pello, resident on Stage Road.
Christina Anderson, resident of Sage Road.
Dave Crawford, resident of Sage Road.
Harry Miller, resident of West Town Reserve, 234.
Brett Castano, resident of Sage Road.
The one person I trust is Dave because he's left-handed.
We're in.
We're in.
Good.
Before we begin, first I want to thank everybody for being here as residents. And we have one officer here. I'm going to ask him to introduce himself.
Hi, Sergeant Ted Lewis from the Traffic Safety.
With that, I'm going to ask everybody to stand. We'll do the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we're sitting, I'm going to ask everybody if we just do a moment of silence. And this is basically, as always, a prayer for the safety of not just our residents of WeGo, but also for the officers and all the staff and the administration of WeGo as well. Thank you.
I was remiss. Should have.
We held an executive session prior to the meeting, and we really had nothing else to discuss in executive session. Although we talked a little bit about security. We're going to move to the approval of the minutes for September 2025. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any questions on it, guys? In the absence of same, all in favor? Aye. Chairman's report. Today's report is going to be a little bit longer, and I apologize in advance, but it'll become self-evident why. First of all, on a personal basis, a couple of people here, I made them aware of the fact is that for the last 4 weeks, my wife and I had something hanging over our head. It proved to be, as of last night, it's taken 4 weeks. I was told that I had a potential brain tumor, and it turned out not to be a brain tumor. And that was as of last night. Going to have this officer introduce himself, who just walked in.
Morning, Ryan Bankfield. Good to meet everybody.
That's great. There are more people, which is, I think, really good. There are more people watching the videos of the police commission meetings than ever before. And there are more people asking questions about the work of the police commission, work of the police force, etc. I'm raising that as a point because there's an interesting, and that's why these people are here who I've never met before. And they're on the subject matter as on our agenda and explain a little bit about what the issue is. What we have is this inherent conflict, and it's not a conflict as in conflictual. It's a conflict, almost like a contradiction of if I'm a resident, who do I go to get a resolution on something? And this is an issue that we have today. They're not the only residents who've gone through it. On a personal basis, I've gone through it. People on my street have gone through it. I got a phone call last night from a different resident on a totally different issue, but again, on the issue that ultimately, if you were to sort of to characterize it, it comes down to safety. And the health and welfare of the public. And I can't blame, there's nobody here to blame. The police aren't responsible for it. The residents aren't responsible for it. The townships are not responsible for it. Meaning is that there's no fault here. The question is, how do we make it work? And let me briefly explain. If you're a resident, and the majority of our consultants, let's say for our township, don't live in our township. So when they're asked to look at something, there's an issue, a resident says that, look, there's an issue that involves, it sounds like it involves traffic or traffic related. Appropriately, our township manager contacts our traffic engineer. Traffic engineer looks at it, says, we haven't heard anything. They probably call the police. Police say they haven't heard any complaints from people. And ultimately, what you end up with is the residents are not satisfied because they think that their people, particularly their kids, are unsafe. The township is frustrated because they're not being able to satisfy the residents. The police are caught in the middle because basically is that what are they supposed to do? When I ran for office 6 years ago, so I'm personalizing it. I did it with a couple of objectives. One of the objectives was, it is so easy. Maybe it isn't as easy as I think it is, but it's so easy for whether it's the police commission or whether it's the police department or whether it's our townships to tell you what you can't do. We can't do something about something, whatever the something is. And then the question is that how do we look at things differently and say, what can we do? Let's give you an example. If our ordinances, and I can't speak for East Goshen's ordinances, I'll speak for our ordinances. There's no secret our ordinances, and Neil will be the first person to say it, suck. They're not great. They need to be updated and the like, but every municipality is going through it. So, but if the township is faced with, and it says, hand sanitizers are not an issue. But basically, the world has changed about hand sanitizers, and all of a sudden you say, well, then how do we deal with that? And let me give you an example. On my street on Robin Drive, this was a few years ago. It became very apparent to anybody living in my street, which is right near Westtown School, that we had a complete turnover of residents. We used to be made up of people of a certain age. Now, the majority of the people are young families. A lot of them have had babies. A lot of them are walking, and we have more people walking on our street than we've ever had before. There are more people walking their dogs on the street than ever before. We have more mothers and fathers walking with and pushing carriages than ever before. And so over a period of about 5 years, there was this demographic change that took place in our street. And the other thing that was happening at the same time is that out of Penwood School, the buses decided to go, instead of going out of the parking lot the way they should have, they started coming around and they would come down Bobolink. And they would then make a left-hand turn on Robin Drive. And all of a sudden you were going down, these buses were going 40 to 45 miles an hour. And it was clear and there were a couple of close calls where all of a sudden families were being sort of like, they got lucky, they could have been killed. And I remember I contacted our former, our retired police chief, Brenda Bernard. And I said, I'm not calling you as the chair of the police commission, I'm calling you as a resident. I said, I think you're going to be telling me is that we can't do this and we shouldn't do this. The township has already said we can't do this and we can't create what I'll call sort of traffic safety mitigation things that happen because they're not justified. But to her credit, Brenda said, let's see what we can do. And I think that that's the issue that these guys are going to be talking about later today. And so please understand, this is not meant to be a criticism of anybody. It's like, if their neighborhood has changed, which is my understanding it has, the phone call I got yesterday on a totally different issue from another neighborhood is, again, they're saying the neighborhood has changed. People didn't used to use Oakburn Park. Now they're going to Oakburn Park. The question is, with traffic increase coming on different sides of Oakburn Park, kids are now, how do they cross the street? And yet there's nobody at fault because, in a sense, the establishment, we are all the establishment. We're sort of waiting and saying, well, it doesn't look like anything has changed, but a whole lot has changed. And the question is that how do we make things work? I'm not trying to, and these guys, Brent will tell you when he called me, I made no assurances. I didn't say we can even accomplish it. But I said it's a worthwhile issue as a policy issue to raise. Let them tell their story. You guys can discuss it, and I think it'd be a worthwhile discussion. I got a question from Cody, which was a legitimate question. And he said, well, this is the kind of stuff that we used to deal with at a township level or privately. I guess from the township level or privately. Is there an issue? Oh, okay, that's fine. I said to him, as far as I was concerned, is that I think it goes beyond that. I don't know whether you have those changes in the neighborhoods that we have, but our neighborhoods are changing rather dramatically. So that's one. So I've asked him to be here and we can put it on the agenda. Last point, and Tom kind of inferred that before we started the meeting. We have a lot going on, and I'm not going to get into it because some of it obviously should be an executive session. But I'm in my last 2.5 months as both as a board member of West Town and in the job I really love, which is being on the police commission. And these next 2.5 months are going to be incredibly impactful. We have the chief, the search for a police chief going on. We have collective bargaining agreement process going on. And then we also have the process for a new agreement between West Town and East Goshen going on all at the same time. And we have a limited amount of time to get it all done. So with that, thanks for listening. I'll turn it over to Cody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I have for our vice chair report, specifically chief, received an email from someone on Waterford Road. I know we put a speed bump in there and that you were all patrolling it as you could. She's just noting that it seems as if the traffic has still increased, specifically in the morning and night. I know DSC was obviously busy with a bunch of other stuff, but if they ever have time just to pop over there, I think that'd be appreciated. Great. Thanks.
We had a couple of officers that completed the officer leadership school. We were glad that happened, and as always, the commission's duty is to see that every police officer comes home safe at the end of the tour.
Interim chief, your report.
So as far as compliments, I don't have any for this month's meeting. We'll save them for next month or months after as they build up. News regarding the police department. Numerous of our officers have been participating in community events this time of year. October is very heavy with community events, and we're glad to be able to participate in those events. Some of those include the East Goshen Food Truck Festival that just passed, Westchester University Criminal Justice Exhibition that we had participated in, Goshen Fire Company Open House, West Town Day, Walk for Me, which is in honor of Bianca Robertson. Bianca was a West Town resident, former Ruston graduate who was tragically killed back in 2017 after a road rage incident in West Goshen County. I had the pleasure of attending West Town Day a couple weeks ago. Had the opportunity to didn't speak with any of you, but I did speak with many residents about concerns about traffic, about other issues going on in the township. So I was happy to be able to participate. So I'm glad you're here today and look forward to hearing what you have to say. May notice that I, along with some other officers, are growing our beards out. We don't usually do that. That's not something that our policy. You can't really tell. You can't really tell that Officer Benfield is trying to grow his beard out. We do this every fall, along with other police departments in the county. It's for the Bluebeards Charity Foundation. That Bluebeards Charity Foundation, officers will donate to be able to grow their beards out. The donations last year raised upwards of $60,000 for charities, including the San Bucos Child Education Fund, the Child's Light, Chester County Crime Victims, and the Westchester Food Cupboard. Additionally, you'll see, I don't believe either of our officers over there have them on right now, but some of our officers are also wearing pink badges. in the month of October, for awareness for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So that's the news going on in the department right
Appreciate it. Statistics.
What's that? Yes, we have yard signs for that. If anybody would want to donate to it, that we be happy to take donations if you wanted to donate yourself, and we have yard sign donate.
Statistics.
For September, the department handled 2,038 incidents. In Westtown specifically, there were 980 incidents. In East Goshen, there were 1,045 incidents. The breakdown of all those calls can be seen in the police commission packet that's scrolling on the screen here. That's also on our crime watch page.
I have some questions. All right, sure. You're going to keep going.
Okay, but go ahead.
What I'd like to do is I'm going to have a series of questions for you regarding the monthly activity report. So some of it is really because there are more people who are, as I mentioned before, watching, viewing, and seem to be interested in the police work. And we're all accustomed to certain things, the meaning of certain definitions of things, but the average person is not. So let me try a couple things. The one thing I did notice is that, and I tried to compare this over the last few months, erratic driver road rage. Are there more events or more incidences occurring than ever before?
So the erratic driver road rage classification. So all these classifications, let me back up so people have an understanding. These are what officers have when they do their reports. This is how they list the incident within our report management system. So just because an incident is listed as erratic / road rage doesn't necessarily mean that a road rage incident occurred within that incident. It could have just been somebody calling and saying that somebody was driving southbound on 202 and they were swerving in and out of traffic. So we get that a lot. I did report last month that we have seen an increase in road rage incidents. One of them actually ended up, or two of them ended up in assaults last month. So as I stated last month, if you find yourself engaged in somebody that's, lost their temper, on the road and they're brake checking you or they're yelling at you or whatever, do your best to get the information, the vehicle description, what they look like. Call 911, report it to 911. If need be, you can always pull over into a public area such as Wawa or a shopping center.
The reason I ask that is the one thing that, in just even watching the news and just reading what's happening around the country, and it doesn't have to be in large urban areas, is the number of cases where there's been road rage and actually shootings from one car to another result from the road rage. Are we seeing any of that in, not just here within WEGO's jurisdiction, but in say the 7 counties?
So we have not seen any shootings. We have in the past, and probably in the more recent past within the last year, have received road rage incidents where a gun has been shown. That's occurred in the past. I did obviously mention the Bianca Robertson incident that occurred, back in 2017. That obviously resulted in the shooting death of her in West Goshen Township. Thank goodness it's not something that happens, every day or even every month or even every year. But obviously, there are road rage incidents, that occur on a daily basis.
And something called patrol check outside
That's
areas. Go ahead, Tom.
Erratic driving / road rage, in my sensibility, are two completely different things.
Mhm.
If a person's going the wrong way on the street, that might be erratic driving versus what is commonly known as road rage. Do you think it might be better to split it out? Because when you look at it, the first thing somebody might say is you've had 11 incidents of road rage, where it might not be a road rage per se, and you don't want that perception, I wouldn't think, because of the national incidence of what road rage really is. There's a big difference between an erratic driver.
Yeah, so that it could be split up. It's not a what we call a reportable crime incident.
Right.
It's a UCR.
It's not a UCR crime.
Correct.
Unless the road runs into an assault. Okay.
Yep, so exactly, as you took the words right out of my mouth, Tom. So if that road rage incident actually ended up being an assault, the result was an assault or harassment of some sort, it would be classified as that. It wouldn't be classified as a road rage incident. It would be classified as an assault, if that makes sense.
But the underlying crime would be the road rage.
That would be the underlying factor that
Factor.
caused,
Okay.
that could have
You
caused.
might want to just take a look at that. So
No, we could split that up.
Next one is patrol check outside areas. What does that mean?
So what our officers do, you see our officers out on a daily basis patrolling. This is us when we have directed patrols that we would like our officers to go monitor an area. So like we would want our officers to go to Pleasant Grove Development for a specific reason, right? There's whatever the case may be. Let's say Mischief Night's coming up. So we want our officers in Pleasant Grove because we know Pleasant Grove is a neighborhood that, you know, gets hit with toilet paper. So they will document their patrol check of that within our report management system and with the county computer aided dispatch.
Next one is, this was interesting, on animal complaint, there's one for dogs, animal complaint, all other animals. Let's first of all talk about what kind of complaints do you get regarding other animals? Who should be calling who for that?
So again, it's a broad category. I mean, it could be anything. If for the all other animals, it could be, I have a bat in my house. Can you help me get the bat out? The dogs specifically, if you're bringing it up for dogs, it could, we have dog bites. We also have, you know, we have, if the dog's off a leash. So that's why they've broken up more specifically.
Are you getting any complaints about more and more deer being, and then again, going back to the question, if I'm a resident and there's deer, too many deer, if you will, who do I call? Do I call you?
So it depends on what you want to do with the deer. So if you have a dead deer, yeah. So this time of year obviously is, you know, we're getting into hunting season and the rut. I'm not a hunter myself, so I don't know all the terminology of the deer. But it does this time of year become very active in the roadway. Vehicles that are traveling strike the vehicles. People will call and say that they have a dead deer in their front yard, you know, that may have, for whatever reason. So they call us. What we'll do is, and many times, if the deer is on their property further in, our officers will be known to drag them out themselves to the side of the road. We'll make certain contact, whether it be either to the Game Commission or if it's on a state road to PennDOT to remove that deer for them.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Does Westtown have archery hunting? I know we have certain groups that.
No, I
We
think
do not.
I think we're the only municipality, East Coast is the only municipality in the county, I believe, that has an actual archery program for deer hunting season. So one of my suggestions would be for every municipality to join East Goshen in kind of tackling this regional issue, because we get complaints about it all the time. You're right, if it's an incident that's something, you know, deer hit a car or whatever.
So do you limit to specific open space?
We have our own open spaces that we designate every year, specific hunting groups to go into, and we pass a resolution every July before hunting season to do so. But it's only a drop in the bucket because we're only one municipality. But I think if more municipalities had specific programs like this, we could make a little bit more dent in the overall population. Just a suggestion.
Want to follow through with that with our people?
Sure.
Great.
Less deer.
Huh?
Less deer.
Let's see. Yeah. Okay.
We have 200 acres now.
I know. Let's keep going. Anything else on statistics at all?
I just have a couple of trends that I'm going to discuss.
Feel free.
Just a few trends that we've been noticing and that we've had noticed in the past that will be coming up. Check washing. We've seen an uptick in check washing incidents recently. So if those who are not familiar with what check washing is a type of financial fraud where criminals steal checks. They then chemically remove the ink to erase the payee or the amount, and then rewrite the check for a larger amount out to themselves before depositing.
It happened to us 2 times last year.
It's personally, you know,
No, in West.
I know with the township, yeah, I'm aware of that, yep. The scam often targets, you know, checks from mailboxes, they steal from your mailboxes, so what we urge, you know, residents to do is to, if you have to drop, mail that contained your personal checks in the mail. Deposit them at the post office or in a postal mailbox. Don't leave them in your mailbox just to be picked up by the postal carrier. Just monitor your bank accounts and the checks as they're cashed to keep an eye on it. With the holiday season upon us, we typically have an uptick in package thefts. Those thefts are, obviously packages delivered via FedEx, Amazon. So that this time of year, those thefts increase. So we urge every residents to, if you don't have a Ring camera, possibly get a camera at your doorway. If your package is going to be left outside for an extended period of time, maybe if you have a trusted neighbor, you could have them bring it in for you. Or if it was something, that you could schedule you to be home to sign for, we urge, residents to do that, just to be careful. And lastly, this isn't a trend, but just more of an incident that I wanted to discuss from back in September that I'm very proud of my officers for handling. In mid-September, our department took a report of a missing elderly man who suffered from dementia. The man was reported to have walked away from the residence around 6 p.m. From his residence in Chesterfield Development, which is off of South Chester Road in Westtown Township. The gentleman wasn't reported missing to our officers until about 4 o'clock the next morning. So to ensure that his safety, numerous officers conducted a ground search for the subject over the course of the next 8 hours to ensure that he wasn't down in the area injured. Luckily, we were conducting training that day, firearms training, so we had a full complement of officers that we pulled from training and then utilized them to assist in the search. We also utilized our new drone once again, which was assisted us very greatly in eliminating areas that we would not need to then search for on the ground. We had the assistance of the Chester County Hazmat drone and West Goshen Police Department drone as well. Luckily, later today, after our officers searched in what were pretty rough conditions too, because it was a little chilly and it was raining out that day, and searching on foot, the subject we learned made his way to Philadelphia. We're still not sure how, but was admitted into University Hospital, Pennsylvania, where he's being treated. So again, glad he was okay, glad he was found, but again, I was very proud of my officers for the job they did that day.
Any questions? And with that, we'll go to Township Roundtable.
I don't have much today, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I was gonna bring up, Cody already brought up the Waterford, people still talking about it. Ted and I have talked about it a bunch of times, so he's been good about that. But the only other thing there is we'll be taking that temporary speed bump out at some point for winter operations. And then Mark and Miller and I were talking, when we put a new one back in, we might put a different one in. So it's less rough, sort of to kind of mimic the ones that are actually made of, road material. So that'll be in the spring, but, so I don't know if that'll be a little bit uptick in speed, but they're gonna have to come out at some point over the winter. Other than that, I understand the complaints. I don't think it's too crazy over there overall. But it's just something to keep an eye on because the residents are, in touch with us on those issues.
Right.
So that's all I have.
You, West Town?
We have seen more traffic on West Pleasant Grove Road due to Route 926 and 202 improvements, and a backup on Orvis Way. I expect that would continue until March. PennDOT schedule is to get that work done sometime in the spring. So it's gonna be that temporary traffic light signal. It's not working the same way that we have a permanent one in terms of the timing. So there's a lot of backs up happening. We will have to close West Pleasant Grove Road in the next 2 weeks to take down trees. From the last storm, there is a very extended tree root that's been laying there, kind of blocking the sight distance. So we are going to be taking down about 10 trees on Crabelly side and along West Pleasant Grove Road where the private property owners are. But we have no way of doing the road work without having to close it because it's only 18 feet wide. We do have West Pleasant Grove Road for our road program for next year. we are trying to do it as early as we can because we would have to close the entire roadway and make it 22 feet wide as per PennDOT standard. So it's going to be a lot of road-related work. South Concord Road is still closed. It will be closed until November 20th during 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. for aqua-related work. It's longer than what they anticipated because they encountered some issues with the bedrock in those areas. So once that work is complete, we'll probably see less complaints related to South Concord Road. At the Planning Commission, we've had a request to look into Goodwin Lane and potential speed humps or some other traffic calming measures on a Goodwin Lane. So I'm communicating with the traffic engineer. Again, some people like speed humps and the rest of the neighborhood doesn't after you get them installed. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. And we keep getting requests for stop sign all over West Down Township. So I've been explaining to the residents, in order for stop sign to be enforceable, it has to be warranted. It has to be warranted by the counts, by the crash data. Otherwise, police is not able to enforce and issue tickets for the stop signage. Yeah, we've got a couple of requests, including Sage Road, including West Pleasant Grove Road. So we're just investigating.
Neil,
seeing
just
what
a
can
heads
be
up
done.
to, just so you know, you might know this already, but one of those warrants for stop signs is not speed. So.
It is,
it's-
yeah.
It's, most of them are line of sight and volume. I
Mhm.
mean, it's a very high bar to get a stop sign in for a speed issue. So I don't know if you want to,
And it's the traffic, so
Yeah, volume is a big one.
volume is a big one, and then the crash data is a big one. I understand that community would like to have more stop signs, but it is difficult to warrant them at every single location. Traffic flow, so.
Any questions? Any questions from you guys? Okay, let's move on to a review of approved bills for the 16th and the 30th. This is not to be voted on. We've already voted on it. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, sorry, real quick, Kathy, what do we pay the county treasurer's office for office level leadership?
So,
Go ahead, yeah, I don't remember. 1125.
So that was initially, it was billed to the check was made out to the wrong county, it was made out to Delaware County. So it needed to be reissued. That was returned to us from Chester County because it was for the officer level leadership course that Tom referred to.
Couple months.
Okay, all right. And then lastly, sorry, the next page, people share,
People share.
that's HR tab table. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, that's all I had.
Kathy, on a question about Anne Marie Cassidy's,
Yeah.
it was like almost $2,900. That's more than usual, isn't it?
It's probably a double bill, plus, since our trash people left last year, Anne Marie's been picking that up on separate days, so there's different bills. So it's not any more than usual, it's just probably the way the billing was done,
That's
and
fine.
missed a term,
Oh.
missed a session.
So any questions about that, Tom?
No,
Let's move into old business. There's none. So now we get to new business, for lack of a better expression, labeled exploring a neighborhood public safety request. And Brent, you want to start? We'll go from there and then turn that into an open discussion. Feel free to come over
If you
here.
could stand when you speak, speak loud,
So would you like me to come up front too?
if you would like.
All right, I don't mind. I got some materials too for you folks. First of all, thank you guys so much. My wife and I have personal experience with the Westtown Township Police Department. You guys were amazing for us a couple of years ago. Can't get into it, but thank you guys. I didn't print out enough copies of this, so hopefully you guys can share. You guys could share it more. Thank you. Also, thank you, Police Commissioner, for inviting us today. So my name is Brett Castano. I've lived here for 11 years now. Is that right, hon? All right, excellent. Got out of Delco, made it to this side, which is great. Thank you. It is a feat for the people that actually lived in Delco to go to.
I did it many years ago.
I know, right? I feel like you got out. It's great. And so, what I wanted to bring up here, and what resonated with me, today was, you know, what you brought up, that it's nobody's, you know, I'm not here trying to say like, hey, it's unsafe because anybody has like a fault or a purpose or is against our neighborhood, right? But, on the fact sheet that I presented to you folks, you will see a change, right? Which I think you guys have brought up. So if I'm recalling correctly, and I wrote this down so that, you know, I didn't have to remember it, but I think there's 41 kids now. And these are the ones that just signed the petition. I have a petition of 30 families that live at Sage Road that are in favor of a stop sign or other, right? We're not saying we demand a stop sign here today, right? I noticed that when I was driving up here, you guys had a crosswalk where it said yield to pedestrians in the crosswalk. Right, and we have the same situation, right? Because there's two sides of a stop sign or two sides of a crosswalk that connect our neighborhood. And it goes Oakhorn Road. I'm sure, I don't know if you guys are familiar with where we're talking about on Oakhorn Road. But, you know, there has been an increase in traffic, right? And that's just been with all the construction, folks are cutting through, right? And, you know, my neighbors and I, we've seen increases in speed. And also our kids are at the age where they're not like infants anymore. They're 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. And so we have 41 kids under 12 and we have, I think, 10 kids under 16. And the 41 kids under 12 eventually are going to drive and we want them to exit the neighborhood safely too. And the kids that are under 16 are getting there. They're not very good at driving yet, right? But they're, you know, they need to be able to safely turn onto Oakhorn Road. So, you know, I've emailed back and forth probably over the broader part of a year to try to, you know, at least enact some change to make it safer. And I'm not going to claim that I'm the best parent in the world, right, either, because when I was a kid, you know, just going back to where I was from in Delco and Garnet Valley, I used to literally ride my bike up Route 1. You know what I mean? And my parents were comfortable with that. I was 7. Went to Wawa, you know what I mean, got a iced tea, came back. It's not like that anymore. Everybody's very self-focused and everybody might be on a cell phone, right? Might be looking at a GPS, navigating through neighborhoods. There's not just the general traffic either. There's also FedEx trucks, Amazon drivers, whether they're in cars or whether they're in actual Amazon vehicles. That's just the way that the world works now, right? And these people are also taking these turns into these neighborhoods rather quickly. So playing in the street in a residential neighborhood is not as safe as it was, you know, when I was even a kid. And so, you know, my daughter is 7. She has what she considers the best friend in the neighborhood, and Chrissy's there. That's her daughter, Laura. And, you know, I mostly am concerned about them so that I can safely send Aubrey across the street, you know, hang out with her friends. They can ride some bikes. And then, you know, whether I come and pick them up or whether, you know, she starts to learn how to be an adult, right? At 7 years old, they're in this weird phase where it's like you would like them to be able to know how to cross the street at a stop sign. But without it, it's too treacherous and causes parents from, you know what I mean? I could literally throw a baseball and hit Chrissy's house, but because it's on the other side of the street, it's too much. So it causes, you know, us to have to make, I'm like literally sitting on the other side of the street trying to give them their space to grow and learn and play together and go through all of the normal stuff that kids and we've all experienced, right? You know, playing with your friends. You didn't have your parents sitting there. Right, so I try to be nonchalant and not paying attention and let them do whatever they need to, but it's difficult, especially when, you know, you have to come home and you want to make sure that they're safe. So in the fact sheet that I provided, right, I provided some updated numbers of kids, right? Also, right, this is not a well-lit area. So at nighttime, at twilight, 5 o'clock, right, it's gonna start to get dark, right? Halloween is coming up. So there's a blind spot coming up the hill on Oakhorn where there was and I don't know if it's like an animal, there used to be horses there. I don't know if anybody ever knows what I'm talking about, right? And so that hill was particularly concerning because it's not only a blind spot for the people that are trying to cross the street safely, but also it's a blind spot for drivers. You can't see who's in the road until, you know, not that it's too late, but it doesn't provide you a long time to recognize that there may be a child in the road and give you enough time to park. And it's not just the kids. I've spoken about the kids because it's that, you know, that's the thing that I'm here for. But there's also dog walkers, right? There's elderly folks. My neighbor, I won't use their name, but you know, she's elderly. She has a hearing problem. She goes out on walks every day. I watch her go out on walks every day with another neighbor of mine. And you know, she doesn't hear very well. So she uses Sage Road, she walks across it, everything's great right now. She's in her 80s, but you know, heaven forbid a tragedy happens on that. And I just feel like something is warranted, right? And something's warranted for consideration, whether it is a stop sign or whether it is something as simple as putting some paint down for a crosswalk with a yield to pedestrians in the crosswalk sign. There's a number of us, and thank you all. My wife's here. 4 neighbors that are truly awesome for coming today, and they have kids in the area too. And I would like to also welcome them to speak and thank you all for your time. I forgot something. Sorry. On page 2, they're stapled together. There's another neighborhood that has a 4-way stop sign that doesn't have a sidewalk that connects the 2 neighborhoods. And it's right around the corner. And you know what I mean? We just ask ourselves, like, how did that stop sign, you know what I mean, get put in as a 4-way stop when we have a sidewalk that connects ours that doesn't, you know what I mean, I guess warrant any sort of consideration. All right. Thank you all.
Before we get the other side of the coin, Brent has asked you if you want to make some comments. So since you're here in support, feel free to come. Okay. And all we'll do is that if you go to the same place over here, I can use that. And then also use your name and your address.
Yes, my name is Christina Anderson. I live at 1013 Sage Road. The visibility is probably the biggest concern for me right now because the way Oakbourne is, and then we have Sage crosses, and then we have this little horseshoe. Now I live on over here and I exit through the left-hand side of that horseshoe more often than not when I'm heading out into town. And you take a left and a right. People are coming down a hill, people are coming up a hill, and it's flat right there. And I'm actually I'm surprised there's not more crash data. I don't want to end up being a crash data, but there's a lot of close calls that happen coming up. And that could be speed related, but I think more or less it's visibility. Now, when I am turning right and it is school year and any one of the high school, middle school, or elementary school bus stop times, you cannot see the crown of the bus as it's got its flashers on. And when you're coming up from the other side from Tyson Park towards Sage Road on Oakbourne, that's like a straightaway, and you can see when dogs are being walked or kids are riding their bikes and people coming and going out of Tyson Park, but you can't really see Sage Road at all until it's too late, more often than not. Like I said, we have a lot of close calls, which wouldn't be something that would end up in a report. But that's what I'm like, we don't have enough citizens to spare for one of them not to make it. And just yesterday, we had the bus stop and we've got flashing yellow lights. All right, here they come, flashing yellow lights. Boom, right by the bus stop, which yellow means slow down. And all right, here comes the stop sign coming out. Boom, right, the second car, 2 cars went right through a stopped bus sign with its yellow lights then turning into red. We all saw it happen. And I'm like, sucks, you didn't catch that on camera.
I know.
But I don't know what the policy is for a bus driver to report all these. I don't think they have the time or wherewithal or patience with all the students on their bus to report all these, but I've seen it at least twice a year. And when we're lucky, we have to just put our own body in the middle of the road for them to go around and cross the street to come to the other side, get off the bus, because traffic wants to tempt it. And I think we're in like you said, a growing neighborhood. I have 4 kids under 10. We've got some babies on the street, and we would love, everybody wants to ride their bike now. Everybody wants to go to Tyson Park. It's right there, but it's the most dangerous strip ever for them to get to Tyson Park. And I don't want to have to be a hover parent. But I think until we get some way of having traffic slow down, at least to acknowledge, like I said, we have regular neighborhood citizens that know there's a street there. We know our neighborhood. But there has been an influx since COVID with privatized Amazon drivers, Grubhub, all those deliveries that are in non-commercial vehicles of people just flying through, and they don't know. So they're not gonna take the time to slow down at the top of a hill. But those are my 2 cents. Thanks for listening.
Anyone else from this group? Sergeant Lewis.
Thank you. If I can come up so I can see everybody here. If you didn't catch me when I came in the door, my name's Sergeant Ted Lewis. I'm in charge of our traffic safety unit here in the police department. And a couple of things. First of all, I truly appreciate everybody coming out to express their concerns. The more that we know and we're aware of what your concerns are, the more ability we have to address them. And also to Chairman Pomerantz comments at the beginning of the meeting. I think a lot of these issues come down to making sure that we have good communication. And it's not a blame issue per se, as you say, but I think that we can all do a better job with communication. So this incident here got, excuse me, put on my radar screen just a couple of weeks ago. So I know that you said that you've been sending some emails and there's been a back and forth for about a year. So it came onto our radar screen just a couple of weeks ago, and we started addressing those issues. And so I think one of the things that we can do is start talking about some of the things that we can do. And I think this is a very common complaint. It's one of the biggest complaints that we get from our residents in both townships all over the place. Traffic's a disaster in our neighborhood. If you don't come out and do something, somebody's going to die. And we have to do something right now. So that's kind of the generality of the complaint. And we end up dealing with those complaints as they come up. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview about how we deal with those complaints and things of that nature. But an idea that's been kicked around, and it may be time to do this, is to put together a traffic advisory committee for potentially both townships. I know that West Goshen has done one in the past. They had monthly meetings. It started out really well, and it just kind of petered out because people stopped showing up at these things. But I think with both of our townships together, if we could do something at least quarterly as opposed to monthly, it will give the residents the ability to come in, share their complaints where there's representatives from the townships and the police departments, and it's a good way to collect information to make sure that we're on the same page and that we have the ability to let everybody know what it is that we're doing going forward. As it stands right now, when somebody gets a complaint to the police department, I do the things that I do. I correspond with them by email, but their next door neighbor may have no idea. They may be upset, have not said anything. There's not communication there. So the information that I'm pushing out to one person may or may not be getting right next door. So if we have the ability to do something like that, and I can speak to Chief Leahy about that and the township managers, perhaps we can get something together so that we have an ongoing issue and we can share information.
Just another quick note on that, Ted. I think I don't have a problem doing that. I think another part of this being missed in the conversation is have to bring our traffic engineers in from both townships on those meetings, because I'm always about following processes in these moments, and kind of the way I handle it. I like, because you guys are enforcement, obviously. I like talking to our engineers and saying what could be designed, what won't work there. Certain things that, right off the bat, we could say no to from an engineering perspective.
Sure.
So I think if we're going to do that, we need to have engineers involved in those meetings.
I agree with that. So I work very closely with both of the township engineers, and they're fantastic. They do a great job, and we have a very good working relationship with each other. We're kind of usually on the same page about how to go about doing things. So just to give you an overview of how the police department does things when we receive a neighborhood traffic complaint. We initiate a traffic study, and that usually starts out by putting out a stealth radar so we can collect traffic data, which gives us both speed and volume. I don't know if anybody's noticed it over on Sage Road, but there's a little green box that's up on the telephone pole. Right now, you may or may not have seen it. It went up the other day, and that's what we're using to collect data. So we try to keep that out and make sure that we have a whole week's worth of data. And we try to do it at a time where there's not going to be anomalies like holidays and things of that nature. But we like to grab the full picture of information. So when we're looking at that, we're looking at traffic volume, we're looking at speed, and we're looking at specifically times of day and days of the week that there may or may not be issues. And then in addition to that, I'll go back and I'll look over 5 years worth of crash data. As PennDOT looks at it, they only look at the crashes that involve either injury or towing. When we go back and we look at it, we look at all crashes for all reasons. So if you hit a deer, which we talked about deer issues, we'll take a look at that. If you back into somebody's mailbox, that's going to show up on our data, things of that nature. And we look at that, and then I try to weed out what's intersection related, what's deer related, and things of that nature, and try to narrow it down. The other thing that we do is we try to look at sightline and sightline timing issues, which I know was brought up by you as a concern. And then we can work with the various road crews if there are issues that they have the ability to address in terms of improving sight lines by either trimming things or getting residents to trim things, making sure the signage is appropriate, all those kind of things. We look at it collectively, and then we kind of have an idea of how to move forward in a path. The other thing that we do is when we're looking at an issue, issues are not just isolated to this intersection or that road, where we try to look at kind of a micro geographic area. So in your case in particular, we had some complaints back in 2021, I think, at Oakbourne and Tyson, which is right down the street from you. They wanted a stop sign. They were concerned about speed, things of that nature. But your kind of micro area is Oakbourne Road and Shiloh, Little Shiloh. We had some issues on Hummingbird as well. They were concerned about speed and some pedestrian issues on that roadway that we were able to address. So so all the traffic that's driving by you on Oakbourne, most of that's also on Shiloh, South Concord, things of that nature. So we try to look at an area, because if I stop somebody on Shiloh Road, that's somebody who is going to be coming down on your road as well. So if we can do things to address a problem in one area, it may affect surrounding areas. And also, if we do any type of traffic mitigation in one area, it's either going to improve things or maybe make things worse in another area. And we need to look at it from that standpoint as well. So when we look at enforcement, we look at a couple of different things. In terms of speed, there are kind of two numbers that we look at. The first is what's called the 85th percentile. So it's going to be the median speed of 85% of the cars. That's a big PennDOT issue to look at. What becomes even more important for us in the traffic safety unit is to look at what we call enforceable speed. So I like to make sure that everybody is well aware of this. Our legislature, in their infinite wisdom, has decided a couple of things. Number one, municipal police are not allowed to use radar. We can't touch it. We don't have it. We're not allowed to use it. There's been bills every year to try to give us access to that now antiquated technology, and it's failed every year. So please feel free to contact your legislator. The other thing that we are not allowed to do is to stop anybody for a speed violation unless they're going greater than 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, which is limiting, right? So 35 miles an hour is a very reasonable speed for Oakbourne Road. It really is. We don't touch them until they're doing 46, which is a little bit more unreasonable, right? So I wanted to give you a little information on what we found out when we did the study at Oakbourne and Tyson, which I think is that's close. It's close. So this was done in October of 2021, so it's a little bit older. And as we've talked about, things change over time, right? So the 85th percentile speed is 43 miles an hour. And 10% of the vehicles were traveling at an enforceable speed or greater, so more than 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. So there's that. We also did a study previously at Oakbourne and South Concord. People had some concerns about that. And their 85th percentile was 35 miles an hour, and their enforceable speed was 0.6%. So it was really low there. 10% is the number where we really start to say we need to really look at this and see what it is that we can do. So you guys are kind of, I would suspect, right at that threshold. When I get the data back from the study that we're doing right now, I think that we're probably going to find that there's some issues that we're going to need to address there.
I just want to say,
No, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you.
Yeah.
We had no idea. I know we saw, I think Dave even texted that that we saw some activity. We didn't know that you put up something.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
No. So, and that's the whole thing about communication. If we can find a better way to communicate, you guys can at least know that we're out there trying to do something. Hopefully you realize the limitations that we have, that we can't be in all places at all times, but we do our best to do that. So we do have a set of speed timing lines down at Oakbourne and Tyson. Those are due to be freshened up. I haven't been able to do anything because of our rain recently. If I'm lucky, if things go well, I'm going to try to get them freshened up this afternoon. But it's on our punch list of things to do. So when we do speed enforcement, you'll see lines across the road, right? Usually at 150 feet distance. that's how we have to get people for speeding is we sit there with a stopwatch. They hit one line, we start to watch, they go 150 feet and we hit the stopwatch and that's our primary way of doing speed. So we need a certain amount of sight distance to be able to do that. We try to get ourselves into a position, thank our legislators for that. You're smiling and laughing. We feel the same way. So we need to be able to see the cars, but we don't want the cars to see us, you know. It makes things a little bit more difficult. So our presence there, when we've gone out and done speed enforcement there before, we've certainly made traffic stops. I've personally written a number of citations there, but we're certainly not capturing that 10% because, you know, if you're paying any kind of attention, you're seeing us there. We're getting the people that are just oblivious, right? As far as the issue, if I could kind of sidebar on this, the school bus issue. So we investigate every single school bus complaint that comes to our police department. The school district is very, very good. All the bus drivers have forms in their vehicles. If somebody passes the red light, and the bus driver sees that they passed the red light, which they stood, they're trained to honk on, to lay on the horn, to notify everybody. If they have the ability to, they gather information, they fill out a form, they send it to us. We average probably 1 to 2 of those a week from the bus drivers. Just within our jurisdiction, we investigate every single one of them. About 40% end up in a prosecution for us, which is pretty good because we usually have pretty limited information. If we're lucky, we get a tag number. So we're getting about 40% of them. It's a violation that causes suspension of your driver's license. And so we take that very seriously. If you as a resident see that happen, if you get a license plate number or any kind of reasonable information that we can do anything with, send it to us because we're gonna look at it. And we're gonna pursue that. So there's a couple of things that I was looking at in the report. So the other thing is when we look at our little micro area, so our big issue is Shiloh Road, right? Which you guys connect with. It's huge. We have a 40% enforceable violation rate on that road. The speed limit's only 30 there. We routinely get people up in the mid 50s on that roadway. It's a big issue. And so we've been hammering that road, which feeds a lot of traffic into your road. When I looked at the Tyson statistics, the time that you guys are having a problem is the same time that Ruston is letting out. There's a shock, or when people are going to Ruston. So between 6:30 and 7:30 in the morning is a big time, and essentially right when school lets out. Those are your biggest problem times. Little bit around lunchtime, little bit around rush hour, but it's really the school related issues. We're in the school zones all the time at those times. We're on Shiloh Road all the time on those times. So we're going to be, our traffic unit is going to be requesting the assistance of our friends over in patrol to try to help us to hit some of these hot spots is what the plan is. Traffic calming measures are, well, it's a hot button topic. What was spoken about before is that it is absolutely not lawful, according to PennDOT, to use a stop sign to control speed and to resolve an issue there. So the traffic warrants that they were talking about are almost all volume related, crash related, or sightline distance related. You guys had 0 crashes at that intersection in the last 5 years. I know that there's been close calls. There was a car fire there a while back, things of that nature, but we've had no intersection related collisions there. So unfortunately that's off the table. So The volume issues are this, it's not just the volume that gets looked at on Oakbourne, it would be the volume that crosses over Oakbourne also. So there has to be an absolute volume number there, and there has to be a ratio there to meet that warrant. And unfortunately, you guys don't come anywhere close to that. The problem, and this is the philosophy, and it's all in all kinds of PennDOT publications that I can send to you if you want it. You've got nothing to do for weeks, you can read them. They're normally a couple hundred pages long. But the issue with stop signs is this, and if anybody's driven on South Concord Road in Thornbury, you will understand exactly what it is that I'm talking about, because they peppered that place with stop signs. You have two problems with that. When you put up a stop sign that people don't think is warranted, they don't obey it. They just go right through. And then when that happens, people create a false sense of security about being able to go through that stop sign, and crash rates increase. The other thing that they do is they get mad and they feel as if they're inconvenienced by having to stop for that stop sign. So what we see is that speeds actually increase between any two given stop signs from the one that you put up until the next one. So if we did a stop sign at Oakbourne and Sage, or at Oakbourne and Tyson, it's going to increase the speeds in front of the other neighborhoods. So you may be potentially fixing a little bit of an issue here, but you're kicking that down into somebody else's neighborhood. And that's kind of what causes an issue. Yes, sir.
Is there like a threshold for a crosswalk with a?
Well, that's a really good, you brought up a good point. So the other things that we do, there's a whole PennDOT publication on traffic calming measures that you can take. And everybody's first thought is, speed humps and things of that nature. But there's a lot of other things that could potentially be done. Crosswalks can be a good thing if it's done in a way that doesn't give the pedestrians a false sense of security, right? People that disregard stop signs are the same people that disregard crosswalks and things of that nature. Pennsylvania in particular is really, really bad. And the Philadelphia area in particular is terrible about getting people to pay attention to crosswalks and things of that nature. Sometimes additional signage is needed, but in the overall grand scheme of things, that's not, first of all, there's really no bar to cross. If you have a sidewalk on either side, you can put up a crosswalk. That's not really an issue. And it's not an overly expensive thing to do. Some of the other things that you can do are double thick thermoplastic lines before an intersection, just kind of bars that go across the road. It gives a little bit of a physical biofeedback to drivers, a little bit of a sound. Sometimes that can be an issue with immediate neighbors and things of that nature. But not like a full rumble strip, but things of that nature. They generally have a tendency to slow people down by 1 to 3 miles per hour is what the studies say. I know on Hummingbird, we put up a fog line on one side of the road to give a visual narrowing of the road. And that virtually eliminated our complaints on Hummingbird, which were pretty significant. So there are things that we can potentially do that can be explored. And I'm not up here to tell you that I'm recommending doing this or that or anything else for that matter. It really needs to be looked at, and the traffic engineers absolutely have to get involved in that kind of stuff. But there are potentially things that we can do that are not break the bank cost and are not going to kick the can down into another neighborhood, and will satisfy the requirements that the township has to make to do things. And unfortunately, a stop sign is not one of the things that's lawful to do, and will actually cause you guys more problems. So you need to know that. Trying to think of anything else that I missed and didn't.
Will you guys share the results of the
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Do you mind meeting with Sergeant Lewis and I? Let's get your contact information after we're done.
yeah, and I can give you a business card, and you can share my contact information with anybody. I always kick it out to whoever wants it. It's not like it's a secret, and And I can also share with you the study results that we had from both Oakbourne and South Concord and Oakbourne and Tyson. So you can see how that information gets filtered out and how we go about processing that information. So that's generally kind of how we do things, just so that you're aware, and what you can kind of look forward to in the future. And I'll discuss with the chief and the township managers about potentially setting up an advisory committee and how to go about doing that in a way that's actually going to be effective so we can get information out to the community.
Hold on, Ted.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Any comments?
Yes, sir.
One real quick, you said there was a traffic study done at Tyson and.
Yes. Mhm.
That was 2021.
Yes, October of 2021.
Roughly during COVID, end of COVID, less driving at that point. I mean, I understand COVID happened,
Yeah,
but
so,
there was less vehicles.
right, and that's one of the reasons, so it's kind of a stale study, right? There's no doubt about that, but that's the last one we did that, and that's the information that I have available. Certainly showed that there was an issue there. We saw less volume during COVID, and we saw exponentially higher speeds during COVID. So we have absolutely seen a change in driver behavior since COVID. Speeds absolutely went up because there was less traffic on the road during COVID. People felt comfortable increasing their speeds. But then as volume has gone back up, people have not changed their behavior to pre-COVID way of doing things, right? So I'm going to be really interested to see what the results of this study are. My speculation is that we're going to see higher volumes, but we're going to see 85th percentile and enforceable speed being in, my guess is roughly the same ratios as what we're seeing now. But I don't know.
Did that not meet the 4-hour peak volume signal warrant?
No.
It didn't? Okay.
No. And so it doesn't, even so, according to PennDOT, this is what PennDOT says, don't shoot the messenger. Even to look at what they call any type of traffic calming measures, they want to see a minimum of 100 and, just as an example, for cut through traffic. And that's another big concern that we have in other neighborhoods, not yours, but cut through traffic. They want to see you do a study and determine then by license plate studies, figuring out how many people are driving through your neighborhood and how many people are cutting through. They don't even want to address an issue of doing anything unless you're getting 120 cut through vehicles per hour in your neighborhood. That's a high threshold.
I got a better one for you. When we put those speed humps up in Highland, we almost didn't get our liquid fuels money because PennDOT said our speed bumps were a little too thick.
Right, yeah, and that's a big issue. So, and these are kind of some of the things that can be talked about if you have a dedicated, traffic meeting, because there's all kinds of sidebar issues that come up when you look at doing something. If you don't do things in accordance with the way that PennDOT wants to say that you can do it, they take money away from you. So every time you pump gas, we get, the townships get a little bit of money from that to fix their roads. And if you don't comply with the way that they want to do things, they say, we're taking that money back.
I got it. It was a lot of yelling, but I got it.
Yeah, right. But, but it can create a lot of other issues, and people in the neighborhoods need to be aware of the issues. There's been a ton more pedestrian traffic in your neighborhood and some of the other ones around because of the changing neighborhoods and things of that nature. So there's a couple of things that we recommend. Number one, create a Facebook group or something like that so that people in your neighborhood can communicate and talk. Make walking groups. Everybody loves to be out walking. Make it a sociable activity, right? And there is safety in numbers, right? If you're walking with 2 or 3 people, you're getting to know your neighbors, you're enjoying them, you're doing a community activity, and you're also watching out for each other's safety. And so we recommend doing things of that nature.
Just one thing, because you mentioned, I think obviously there's 2, I think, big overarching ways to calm traffic. The one is, the width of the road, you see the speed humps. I really do think the thing you brought up with the narrow visualization of it, it's a lot of stuff you see in Europe nowadays. With the lines on the road being squiggly, you could Google that. That's happening.
Yeah, so they did that in Monco and it
Yeah.
kind of went off the rails and it a little bit too far.
Yeah, but I just think overall, I just think the narrowing visualization is kind of the way the future is gonna go, because it adds less to the road. So
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I'm a fan of it. So, and I'm gonna finish up because I don't want to hijack this meeting, but, so people drive at a speed that they feel comfortable driving at, right? So when you're behind the wheel, your perception of speed is completely different than if you're standing on the side of the road and somebody's whizzing by you, right? And we see that as police officers all the time because we're standing in traffic all the time. And we also occasionally exceed the speed limit going to calls, depending on the nature of the thing. So we get to see both sides of it. And it's really a very, very different perspective. But people drive at a speed that they feel comfortable driving at. And it's all visual reference stuff. So if you can change their visual reference, then that will affect their perception of what it is that they should be doing. And Europe is very good at that. The United States is not. Some states are more progressive than others. I would love to see Pennsylvania kind of start to come around on that kind of stuff. The other, one last issue I wanted to touch on real quick was about school buses and sightline issues and things of that nature. As far as school bus stops go, that has to be handled through the Westchester Area School District. If you have a concern about your bus stop, we have tried vociferously to change several bus stops within our jurisdiction, and we've gotten a flat out hard no. They will not do that after the school routes have been set prior to the beginning of the school year. They give us a hard no on that, and we have no ability to do anything about that. If you have a concern about the location of your school bus stop, whether it's on one side of the road or the other, things of that nature, kids crossing, address it now with the school district, because that will at least get it on their radar screen for over the summer when they're starting to do all of their test bus routes. But we are happy to give input on that, but we have no ability to change their mind, and I've been 100% unsuccessful in any attempts that I've made.
Let me stop you there. Any other questions?
Good.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The study you're conducting now,
Yes.
will that also include an engineering study on the gradation?
No, it will not. It will account for me going out and visually looking at it and seeing if there's a particular issue that needs to then be kicked over to the traffic engineer. So, I can do some basic sightline distance, things of that nature, but, if you're talking about changing the grading of the roadway,
Oh, no, under
but yeah,
the signal warrant, one of them is gradation.
yes, that part of it is. So I'll give a preliminary look at that. If there's anything that is, beyond my certain amount of knowledge that I think needs to be looked at, then it gets kicked to the engineer. Yes, sir.
I think the South Concord Oakbourne makes sense that it's 35 because you're coming up the hill.
Oh,
Right,
absolutely.
we're at the top of the crest and then people are.
Yeah, so we looked at speeds going both ways and there were some sightline issues to be looked at, but that's the reason why we did the study there. But one of the complaints that we got from that person was people are really speeding. They're cooking through here 50, 60 miles an hour, things of that nature. And we found out that that was a perception issue that was not actually reality. And it's important for people to know that.
Couple of questions. Go ahead.
Speaking of perception, so saying, hey, could we have a sidewalk from Sage to Tyson Park? That would probably not be visually in our favor, visual driving.
No, that's not necessarily true. People seem to have a certain amount of respect for sidewalks. So when you look at least the PennDOT way of deciding whether traffic calming measures are appropriate, there's a whole point scale that you get about whether to do it or whether to not. When I looked at Tyson based upon the old study, their score was a 30 out of 100 as to whether traffic calming was appropriate. they got a 16 for speed, 5 for volume, and 10 of those points were for not having sidewalks on either side. So, so the addition of sidewalks is actually something that, at least according to PennDOT, can mitigate some of the traffic related issues. And, you know, even though it's not necessarily a direct safety issue because we haven't had crashes there, it's a, you know, it's an issue to be addressed, right? Because it's a community concern.
I'm gonna, because we're gonna have to move on. I have one question for you.
Yeah.
This meeting took place because you originally went to our township. And I saw the response and I understood why you got the response you did. And I said, okay, didn't know whether it would help to come to this meeting. So the question for you, as from a traffic point of view, Ted, there'll be other neighbors and other neighborhoods might be watching this over a period of time. And they might be reading the minutes of this. When there's an issue like this, who do they call? Do they call the township or do they call the police?
Well, that's a good question. Which is one of the reasons why I kind of brought up the idea of doing a traffic advisory.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Which may help to mitigate some of that. Certainly, if the complaints come to me, we will look at every single complaint that comes in. We always do. And whenever we get a complaint, we make sure that we kick it over to the respective township so that they're at least aware of the fact that we're looking at. I have worked very closely with both Derek and Mila to make sure that when they're getting complaints, that we get copied on those. And I would say that we get copied on the majority of them, but just like anything else in the human world, sometimes either way, things move, you know, slip through the cracks. But certainly if anybody wants to reach out to me, they can do that at any time.
Ted, thank you for, no, you're good, I don't need you.
Okay.
Thanks for your presentation. I don't live in West Town, but one thing I want to commend you all for showing up today.
Absolutely.
One thing that I would like to reiterate to our residents too is our township meetings are on Tuesday nights. They're Monday nights for you all, but Dick is just one of 3. He needs 2 or 3 to get things done like this. When you show up to meetings, it's super important. We've had plenty of stuff that when people come to our meetings, they've been emailing the township for however long, just falls where when you get in front of the township supervisor and you know the township supervisor enough, things get done. So I just have that and just talk about how important local government is compared to everything else, because we're the ones who take care of your trash, recycling, your fire. But as it pertains to traffic issues in East Goshen, that's usually how we have people come to our township building directly for that. So.
I'll second that from a West Town point of view. I made a promise to you, Brent, and I said, if you can get your neighbors out here to a meeting like this, and I understand that we all have other responsibilities. And I said that you'll get a fair hearing.
Appreciate it.
And hopefully that will lead to something. I think that that's come up with a really interesting solution of the Traffic Advisory Commission. Obviously, that's got to be worked through the 2 townships as well. I can tell you that there will be some reaction of not another commission or a committee with more meetings, but maybe this time it would be a helpful one because it might accomplish something different. So I want to thank you all for coming. You can have 2 choices. You can stay for the rest of the meeting. We're more than happy if you do so. Or if you want to leave it quietly. Absolutely.
Thank you for having us. And thanks for not having
Thanks,
great
guys.
answer.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You get a chance, just send me an email. I guess either way.
Underway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
All right, thank you.
So much.
Oh, great job. All right, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Our next subject matter is officer comments, but we've heard a lot of them already. So are there any other comments that you'd like to make? With that, then we'll go to overtime report. Let's go from there.
So I'm just going to give the total for September was 275 hours of overtime. I will specify that 48 of those hours of overtime were training due to our firearms qualification. You also see training overtime for October be present as well for our annual use of force and moped control tactics. Just to give you, I know I touched on this the last meeting. In September, with the traffic safety unit moving to a 12-hour schedule, Monday through all day, Monday through Sunday, they accounted for 122 hours that they assisted in supplementing patrol coverage. In October, so far, that'll be 129 hours of TSU coverage, which again would equate to approximately $12,900 if you use a $100 an hour overtime rate.
Love that. Thank you. On overtime that included 1.5 hours, and it was not the amount of time, I'm much more interested. An incident at the YMCA, what was that?
It's July.
Yeah. Which, I'm sorry, which in July?
July, yeah.
That was I would have to, in July, I'd have to go back and look to see.
Is that the,
It could be 1.5 hours. It
Yeah.
could be the subject that we arrested for videoing the young females at the
okay.
pool.
And it was at the YMCA.
That was at the YMCA.
Okay, cool. And then it says an hour for supervisor meeting. What was that?
So what was the month on that?
Also July.
For July, that would have been a supervisor meeting that I called with our leadership team within the police department.
Okay.
Mandatory supervisor meeting, right? Not elected official supervisors meeting.
I'm just trying to understand.
I wish they were only an hour long.
Month-end report.
Yeah, in the interest of time, I'm just gonna let you know that the month-end report, we're doing well. We're right on target. Shows that we're 2% over, but probably more like 1.5%. And I have no concerns.
No concerns.
No concerns.
That makes it easy. Any questions about that guy? Let's move to PPU report.
So for the PPU report, we're ending for the PPU year, we have 3 times there. Westtown ended up at 45.56 and East Goshen at 54.44%.
And we always say we're not actually using that. Could you talk a little bit, Kathy, maybe you have this or Jason, like, on the large repair on a vehicle that we planned to keep and it was under 100,000 miles. But that added up. What was
It
that
would have
about?
to be purple large. However, I can tell you that anytime a car is under 100,000 miles and we plan to keep it for more than a year or two, a repair is done regardless. That was a policy put on by the commission probably 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay, cool.
Was not under warranty at that time.
Any questions?
Nope.
All right. Public comment. Yes, sir. Go for it.
Where do you want me to stand? Here?
That's fine.
Can you tell us a little bit about why you're here, why you unpack?
Yes, I will. Okay, my name is Harry Miller. I live almost next door in West Dam Reserve. Okay. And about 2 or 3 months ago, I observed one of our township officers, or WEGO officers, respond to a resident complaint or concern, I should say. Now, I noticed that, in my opinion, so this is a plate carrier, incidentally. You either call a body armor or call a plate carrier. And I noticed that what he was wearing, in my opinion, was insufficient for the risks that they all face every day. I think you recall, I guess a week ago, whatever, the 3 officers that were killed out, I think it was York County or whatever. I believe an AR-15 was the weapon that was used at the time, and there's been a lot of incidences both with schools or whatever, seems to be one of the two weapons of choice. So I saw it and I follow this stuff a little bit. I lived in Birmingham Township for 38 years, okay, and I had a very good relationship with a couple of police officers. I was always concerned with cars, weapons, and body armor plate carriers. So the one I saw that day, I interpreted to be a level 2, which is typical of what Uncle Sam has just flooded the country with. They've given it away to a lot of police forces. I think they're very inadequate. And, it's like yesterday technology. If somebody's going to be shooting at you with a, say, an 9mm Glock or something, well, maybe they're okay and maybe they're not. It's not something that I personally would wear. And I do have combat experience. I spent a year in Vietnam and all that type of stuff. So very aware that, offense and defense is very important for a police officer. It's great to have the weapon, but also something protect yourself is probably just as important. So a couple of weeks later, I'm saying to myself, the slogans around, if you see something, say something, right? So I came up and talked to our acting chief a little bit and inquired what level we had. Now, what I have on is, I think, more appropriate for what our officers should have. This is a level 4. I have 3.5 in the back, and the reason I use it is the plate size of a 4 is about like this. A 3.5 or below is like this. The difference being 1/2 inch of polymer. The polymer absorbs bullet fragments and that type of thing, which, protects eyes and whatever it is. So the reason I have these is I go to the range every 2 weeks, and I'm the only crazy that wears body armor. The rest go in there. But the problem is when you go to range, public range or whatever, you know what the experience level, what kind of protocols are going to follow. I have even days that I won't go there because I don't like what they do, the way they operate, because it's very different. And I guess it was like, half a year ago, one of them obviously wasn't affecting protocol and shot the wall out in there's an interim room. You go in and put your headsets and your ear protection on, and they shot the wall. So that could very easily happen in the range. So anyway, get back to your situation. So I interpret it as being level 2. Talked to Interim Chief, and he indicated to me that they wear 3s, and I've seen an example of that. But a 3 is not going to cut it with what is primarily going on out there now. If you're working with a handgun situation, unless you're running a 40 caliber or 5 or 40, 20.
Sorry, do you mind not pulling live ammunition out? I'd appreciate that.
Oh, you can't? Okay. All right. Can I use the box?
Want to show the, yeah.
Yeah, okay. This is 9mm, and your bullet's about that big. This is a 5.56, which is used in AR-15. About that big. It's like, combat type thing. This is the grain tip, which provides even more firepower for whoever has an AR-15. So the current plate carriers that the township and others use is not going to stop this kind of stuff. And that's why I think it's important. I think you just upgraded your weapons. The Glock's fantastic, world class. I'd like to see upgrade plate carriers. I realize that, and there's a new one I just saw that came out the other day. This is we'll call it old school. Is about 9.5 pounds per plate. The new ones that came out are 5.5 pounds. So it drops the weight down considerably. So I'd like you to think about that because, our police officers are extremely important. If they're incapacitated or worse, they're of no value to themselves, their family, or the community. So I like to see it increased, and that's my 2
Do you
cents.
represent DuPont?
I'm sorry?
Do you represent DuPont? I saw your card with DuPont.
I retired from DuPont many, many years ago.
I'm gonna ask you, please.
Yeah.
Forgive this question, but
No.
I'm gonna do it because again, it's being recorded. you're doing this as a good neighbor and as a good resident. You don't have any commercial axe to grind on this. I'm at, that's.
No,
that's great.
I
got it. I just.
No, it's a good question. I think you should answer. I'm a retired DuPont director. Been retired since 1998.
Fine.
I don't work, so I don't have any affiliations with anybody. I've always been concerned, like I said in the beginning, with, what they're driving, tires they're using, weapons they're using, and the plate carrier body art.
Let me stop.
Other than that,
Let me stop you there.
all those things impact officer availability and
Got it.
survivability.
What's your reaction as the interim police chief to the recommendation from the?
So I want to first say I truly appreciate your concern for our officer safety. So I know when we spoke, both initially and then at Westtown Day, I really do appreciate the support for our officers and keeping them safe. Our standard patrol vest is that Officer Benningfield is currently wearing. It is a level 2. Since I have spoken with you, which will let me back up, level 2 is a standard across police departments across the United States as far as patrol. And the reasons for that is mostly, and again, they are for handguns. We realize that. But what it takes into account for is it's just not feasible for our patrol officers who are working 12-hour shifts to be wearing a level 4 vest throughout the course of their duty throughout the day. We have, though, since I've spoken with you, looked into some other areas that we can keep our officers safe in critical incidents such as that. Officer Benningfield is one of our firearms instructors. He's also a member of the Chester County or Westchester Emergency Response Team. He has researched tactical shields that we are looking to possibly in the future, purchase at some point. To assist in cases where we might be meeting a potential rifle situation. Also, we've looked into inserts into our current vests, which I know this meeting's gone long, so I don't want to extend it any further. It's a possibility that we could potentially buy inserts that could strengthen our current vests. There's a cost to that, but that's something I'd have to research in the future.
This is Shay. I was a range yesterday, and this is what some nut job can do. Pretty accurate. I was going to bring the weapon in. I was told not to do that, and that's okay. But you can go buy an $800 or $900 AR-15 type with a scope on it, and this is what you can do. And the reason I have it spread around is if you just focus on the bullseye, you're not going to have anything to judge. So I move I put these marks on there and do it so I can go around and do different things. So that's why I came, and I'm glad you're going to take a look at it. I think it's extremely important.
And we appreciate you doing that. And I hope you come to more of these police commission meetings.
I can do that. I have some time, but I to give you some compliments. Great on the Glocks, world class, the best. I have 6. I like your cars, I like the police cars because I happen to run. Just bought my 19th Grand Cherokee, and that's what this Durango is just an extended one. And you're going to get a new platform, I think, in 28. It's going to be far better than what you're doing now. So
With that, I'm going to have to say thank you.
it's all right.
Yeah,
Take care.
Thank
Thank you.
And with that, unless.
So moved.
I have to finish it to make my comment first. Unless there's any other comments, anything to speak, to add, I'll just say.
Here, can you open that door? I'm sorry.
Meeting's adjourned.
So moved.
You go out that way, sir. Thank you.
It's all right.
And
I'm going to give you something.
thank you.
All right.
Tom Lexus. Again?
That's fine. This is this building. This building. It's up to you. I don't care.
Thanks for.
Yeah. I'm gonna-
How are you?